Hello everyone, my name is Natalie Lyons, and today I will be giving a presentation about anxiety and how to manage the symptoms of anxiety. First of all, I want to begin with a scenario. I want you to pretend like you were at the DMV. The lady was rude to you. Every time you look up, you make eye contact with a different stranger. The AC is way too loud. Your feet feel weird in your socks, and it's your first time coming here by yourself. If that wasn't already bad enough, your heart rate starts to increase rapidly. You start sweating bullets, and before you know it, your mind is running 100 miles per hour. If this has ever been you, welcome to the Anxiety Club. I know you didn't ask to be here, but welcome aboard. As someone who has been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, I have a hard time myself with time management and being in public spaces that I am unfamiliar with. Managing anxiety is a useful skill to learn because most of us will experience anxiety in our lifetimes. Some of us experience it a lot. And even if you are one of the rarer people who do not experience anxiety, the chances of you consoling or advising someone in the future who is experiencing symptoms of anxiety, are very high. For today, I will describe how to define anxiety, how to tell symptoms in yourself and in others, and finally, how to manage symptoms on the spot. For today's agenda, our first section is called All About Anxiety, where we will go over the definitions and the ins and outs of anxiety. Varieties in anxiety, which is nice wordplay, where we will explain how anxiety presents itself in different people. And then finally, we will go over how to manage anxiety, which is quite self-explanatory. First of all about anxiety. So what exactly is anxiety? How is it different than just being fearful or worried? According to the American Psychological Association, anxiety can be described by feelings of tension, racing thoughts, increased blood pressure, excessive sweating, difficulty breathing, or a quickened heart rate. The association also goes on to explicitly state that anxiety is not the same thing as fear. In broadest terms, fear is a natural and more appropriate response to physical stimuli. When someone is fearful, they are present-based and threat-focused. When someone is anxious, they have little rationality. Present threats yield long-term consequences, and small hindrances are the same as steep mountains to overcome. It can feel like breathing too loud in a quiet room means you're going to be forever alone. It doesn't sound that serious to us now, but to someone who's anxious, this is a rational, normal fear. This is a phenomenon called catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is essentially when someone who is anxious assumes the worst possible outcome. Even if the chances are slim to none, even if there is insufficient evidence to support such conclusion from happening, they are focused on the worst possible outcome. Anxiety can be triggered by a variety of different things. Larger life events such as divorce or the loss of a loved one, or just being in public too long, smaller things such as that. However, stress, sleep, nutrition, and certain medications can all affect how anxiety presents. However, some of the most common causes are finances, work, loneliness, physical health, and tension in interpersonal relationships. Some misconceptions about anxiety are so ingrained in our society that we've come to believe them. First of all, no one chooses to be anxious. Second of all, it is not always easy to relieve anxiety. Third, being anxious is not the same as being introverted or shy. It should also be clearly stated that having symptoms of anxiety is not the same as having an anxiety disorder. On to the next topic, we will describe how different symptoms are displayed. Varieties in anxiety. Anxiety presents itself differently in each person, and that is because there are so many symptoms of anxiety. Certain people only pick up certain symptoms. For instance, somebody may have the anxious stomach, the nausea, but they don't have the excessive sweating that others may have. Anxiety is subjective due to the individuality of the human experience, and some people simply mask so well that you cannot tell that they are anxious. Childhood experiences, traumas, perspectives, and attitudes can all affect how anxiety presents. Psychology is still a relatively young science, so a current problem in the psychiatric society is that many mental stimuli that we have researched upon so far actually coincides with other different mental stimuli. So for that reason, a lot of times anxiety is seen as a co-occurrence between other emotional conditions. Usually when you are anxious, it is the symptoms of something else. Some standalone symptoms of anxiety include nausea and stomach upset, dizziness or lightheadedness, restlessness or the inability to stay still, struggles with breathing, worries that people around them are angry, and intense feelings of inadequacy. In some cases, depersonalization and derealization can occur, meaning that the person who is anxious feels disconnected to their own body, mind, or environment. Someone who appears withdrawn, shaky, defensive, or irrational might be experiencing an anxiety attack. If their breathing is rapid and faltering, maybe they are crying, or maybe they are restlessly fidgeting. This can all be how other people present anxiety. Sometimes the best way, however, to find out how someone is feeling is by simply asking them. Finally, for the moment we've been waiting for, we will discuss our golden topic: how to manage anxiety on the spot. Though anxiety feels like a beast to overcome, there are ways to prevent it from happening. However, this is a public speaking class. There are going to be times where you are going to be in uncomfortable situations. It is not always avoidable. So for that reason, we will be going over some methods on how to overcome it in the moment. Contrary to how you may feel in an anxious scenario, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There are many ways one can self-soothe. It is a matter of time and learning what you need as an individual, but it is possible. An important component to calming anxiety is to simply take care of your body better. If you are in a position where you can get sleep, or you can eat or drink water, then that is sometimes the best way that you can overcome this anxiety. However, if you are in a position where you cannot, some things here that might help: change your scenery. So that means change where you are. Go to a more private, confidential area where you can calm down, de-stress. Change your sensory experience. So, for example, by changing your sensory experience, if you feel hot, you could do the opposite of that. Go wash your face with cold water and just change how you feel as a whole physically. It's something to shift how you feel, because a lot of times this translates to how you feel emotionally as well, your physical state. Focus on a mantra such as "This too shall pass." Remind yourself that you are safe. Sometimes simply reminding yourself that you are safe in your environment can make a huge difference. When you are helping someone else, try redirecting their focus, asking them questions such as, "What's your favorite pizza topping?" It sounds silly, but minuscule questions like that are the go-to. You want to redirect their mind to something that is harmless and not so in the moment. Taking them somewhere private. This correlates with the advice we gave earlier about changing your scenery. And finally, listening to their needs. Listening to someone's needs is the most important part. If they need something, they need to tell you, you need to listen. It is as simple as that. Let's see. This is all that I have for today. As a final thought, I would like to reflect on how we treat individuals with mental health problems as a whole. Someone who is struggling with anxiety to a point where it is noticeable, oftentimes we are not kind to them. We do not treat them kindly. With everything that you have learned now, how do you feel about how we treat those with different mental stimuli, different mental illnesses? How do you feel we treat them as a whole? Thank you for your time. This was my presentation.